press conference day at Colorado as they prepare for CSU. Spend a quick minute just kind of reviewing what happened out in Lincoln. I'm glad to be back here in Colorado. What about you?
I'm glad to be back. I did not get Runza, but I'm glad to be back in Colorado and just kind of move on. I mean, it's one of those things that, we talked about after the game, but there were some things obviously that didn't go well, and some people call it a disastrous game, and it wasn't pretty, things like that. But it's also, to me, I don't like to overreact over one game, and I'm ready to kind of move on to the next one. There's 10 games left, and I think there's opportunities for them to fix some of those things that didn't look good the other night.
Yeah, I think what happened Saturday says a lot, right? Because if you bounce back, you have a dominant performance, you're 2-1, and you're going to go against a Baylor team that you match up pretty well in your first home game. All of a sudden, kind of that optimism creeps back in. But I get it. It's Colorado's rival, so when you build up that much excitement and have the belief as a fan that your team's going to win, and then they put together a performance like that, it's going to sting. And so I totally understand that part of it too.
Yeah, I totally understand it as well, and especially when the big part of this team that's built a lot is that offense, right? Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, and they never really got going. And so that part was disappointing. I look at it and say the defense was really good for the most part, I thought. And there were some things you didn't like out of that game, but I like the defense out of it. But also, as I look forward, I'm not sure there's going to be another atmosphere like that. That was a tough place to go in and play, and that atmosphere – you got to give a lot of credit to Nebraska fans and Nebraska. They just know how to do game day, and it was a pretty awesome atmosphere. I don't think CU is going to go into anything like that. There's not going to be a situation like that the rest of the year, and I think maybe that if that's some solace for CU fans, I think that had a lot to do with it. I think the environment plays a big role in that.
Shiloh Sanders went in for surgery, and timeline's a little bit up in the air because Coach Prime said that Shiloh is one of those that recovers really quickly from injuries, and I do remember that when he was at Jackson State and recovered from a torn ACL much quicker than everybody anticipated. So, but he's not going to be out there this week at Canvas Stadium up in Fort Collins. It will be, you would assume, Carter Stoutmeyer assuming that role, and he seems to fit in pretty well at safety. He didn't really give up any plays in coverage in that game.
Yeah, I actually thought Carter Stoutmeyer played as well as Shiloh Sanders would play. I mean, I thought he was really good. This is not a knock on Shiloh. I think it's more of a compliment to Carter Stoutmeyer. I don't think there was much of a drop-off there, and so I feel pretty good about it. And we talked about safety depth coming into the season, and it's shown itself through the first 2 weeks. I mean, Savion Riley played a really good game in place of Cameron Summer-Craig in week 1. Carter Stoutmeyer comes out and plays a really good game last week. I feel good about the safeties. And so, yes, you want Shiloh out there. He's an emotional leader, all those things. I think they're in good hands with Carter Stoutmeyer.
Chidozie Wankwo, his status is up in the air for this week. It also sounds like Dallin Hayden is going to be out at running back, and that's a hit to this offense, even though they haven't been able to establish that ground game. But just the glimpses that we've seen of Dallin Hayden, he did play more offensive snaps in that opener than Charlie Offerdahl did. But there's a lot of folks out there clamoring, and I agree with them that Dallin Hayden, when he gets back healthy again, needs to be a focal point on this offense.
Yeah, he played the most snaps of running backs on Saturday night as well, and so that's a big loss. And some people say it's not because they don't run the ball, but it's a big loss because he's the guy that's been playing the most snaps, and I think he's shown the most promise at running back. But at the same time, you and I were talking about it beforehand, like it was only 2 runs and it was garbage time. I liked Isaiah Augustave, the way he ran the ball at the end of that game. And Michael Welch is a guy that we've seen in practice and on the videos, things like that. He runs hard. Coach Prime has said he runs hard. I don't know if this is an opportunity for Michael Welch, and so I'd like to see some of those guys get in there and get opportunities. But and Charlie Offerdahl, maybe he seizes that opportunity and has a good game as well. But I think there's some other guys there that we can see that I think the run game can be okay if they actually do it.
Yeah. There is the pass protection aspect of it, and as Coach Prime points out, they watch these guys every day. They have so much more information on all these players than a lot of us that are offering criticisms about certain things. Right. But it just Isaiah Augustave is a really talented running back, and Michael Welch is a dog, and I think part of it is just want to see what those guys can do, and we've already seen Charlie Offerdahl in some of those short yardage situations, and it didn't work. So it is kind of wanting to see somebody new at that position.
Yeah, and both of Isaiah Augustave's runs were in third and short opportunities, and he got the first down both times because he's their biggest back and he runs hard. And so I'd like to see a little bit more of him. He didn't get an opportunity until the end of last season at Arkansas and ran really well. And so I would just like to see more of him. I will say, as far as pass protection, take PFF grades with a grain of salt, right? Take them for what they are. But Charlie Offerdahl's pass protection grade is way higher than Dallin Hayden has been. And so I can understand why Charlie's in there, especially when you're a pass-first offense. And so I get it, but as far as running the football, I want to see Isaiah Augustave and Michael Welch.
The folks out there that want to see Colorado's football program fail had quite a bit of material after Saturday's game, especially after that first half. You don't really need to make up fake controversies, yet it keeps happening. Yeah. Shedeur Sanders goes back in the locker room with 2 minutes left. As Coach Prime pointed out, Wankwell was ahead of him. They were going back to see the doctor. Brian Staub was going into the game. The score was out of reach. The fans were at times semi-unruly there at Memorial Stadium. They did rush the field. Everything in my head says if I was in Colorado's shoes, if I was Coach Prime, I'd have Shedeur Sanders going back to the locker room with 2 minutes to remain as well. I don't think there's anything more than that. And then also, the when they scored a touchdown, there was a misreport out there that they're not going to play the CU Fight song through the band after that. At the NDSU game, they did play Shedeur's song, and they had Alejandro Mata had a custom song as well. It didn't take away from the environment. It didn't take away from Colorado's traditions. Right. I bet most people didn't even notice it. Again, it's every week we have to talk about this stuff because it is news, but it's so stupid.
Right. And if you watch it in the North Dakota State game, they would play Shedeur's song right after the touchdown, and then they'd play the fight song after the extra point. So they're still playing it, And yeah, as far as the leaving 2 minutes early, Coach Prime didn't even mention this part of it, but I think he made a good point with rushing the field. If Nebraska fans are going to rush the field, who is going to be their biggest target? It's Shedeur Sanders, and so I would get him out of there as well. I think that was smart. I think the injury thing is valid. The other thing to point out is that you want to get those guys checked out. There's a quick turnaround between the game ending and them wanting to get on the bus and needing to get out of there and get on a flight. And so it's not like being at home where you have all the time in the world after the game to work on those things. So you've got to get in and get out. And so I think you rush some of those things because we've got to get out of here as well. And so it's amazing how many things you and I and others that try to report honestly have had to answer to in the last year and a half that are just, you shake your head and like, really, are we dealing with this? And it's amazing to me that Colorado had to put out a statement to somebody about the song. It boggles my mind.
I wish more guys had a song. And don't give me you should focus on winning first in football. This is not taking away from that. There are 24 hours in a day. There's enough time for these kids to be kids. And, you also want to attract talented players to Colorado. And the more fun the atmosphere is, the more attractive this place is. And so I thought that they should do things to spruce up the game day atmosphere at Folsom Field. It's a great atmosphere, but there are things that you can do to kind of appeal to a younger crowd at times as well in there. So I guess that's as much as I ever thought we would talk about what they're playing over the speakers or the band in Folsom Field. So CSU this week, and it does sound like Torrey Horton, their star receiver, is going to try to give it a go. Coach Prime wasn't biting when he was given the bait over making this personal again.
Nope, he was not at all, and had complimentary things to say about Jay Norvell and his wife. So, not taking the bait at all, and that's smart. He didn't take the bait really last year either.
No. Well, we have a lot of time to talk about CSU, so we'll do that later in the week.